Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Awaken the Loving Power of Your Voice. Release fear and embody love through sound, soul, and sacred expression. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really thrilled to be here with a remarkable teacher. Her name is Chloë Goodchild. She's an international voice pioneer, an author, singer, and founder of The Naked Voice. And what I can say is over the years of working with Chloë is that she just brings a kind of a magical spirit of inquiry into how our voice can be a portal to our soul, to our authenticity, to our sacred expression, and really just frees us up from a lot of the constructs and patterns and shoulds that we have around our voice, and really how can voice open us to more of life and each other. So we're going to have this time together with Chloë, and we're going to have some I'm sure, really beautiful adventures today. And if you want to go further, we have a brand new program with her called The Art of Loving Your Voice. So more to come if you want to go further. So Chloë, thank you so much for joining us again today.
It's just great to be with you again, Stephen. Wonderful.
Beautiful. Do you want to, I know that we usually ask a little bit about personal backstory and blah, blah at the beginning, but it might be beautiful just to set the space with something that's more musical from you and just whatever's the spirit's moving through to kind of invoke us into a sacred space together.
Well, I would love to just share with you just simply a sound. Should we just do some
Sure.
sounds together?
Yeah.
Sound. So I have here a lovely little instrument here. And I'd just love to invite everyone to just close the eyes and just really breathe right down into your feet and just feel a stability in the big toe and the little toe, and to be aware of the middle of your feet and to embody your awareness there, and to take your awareness right down into the earth. And just to let yourself breathe and relax, and just allow this sound to flow through the system, and let all the cells in your body just relax and awaken. Awaken to the aliveness, to the source of sound within you. And just embodying your awareness in your legs, the root of your body and your pelvis, the whole torso, right up into the shoulders. Feel the shoulders opening, relaxing, arms relaxing, hands. And be aware of the whole vertical axis of this extraordinary, unique body of yours. Right up, opening up the back of the neck and feeling that vertical axis just rising on up into the crown, igniting the pineal gland, and just being aware of the luminosity that is available there, received from the cosmos itself. And I just want you to just respond to 3 questions. Very simple. How do I feel right now? How do I feel? And how does that sound? And then finally, what quality of silence does that leave behind?
Beautiful. Yeah, it almost feels sacrilegious to break the silence, but I know I have a call to do. Yeah, it feels like there's this kind of like there's like a shimmering quality to the field of energy when you sort of I almost feel like you just did a little chiropractic adjustment sonically of our energy fields, at least mine. And
Oh,
yeah, just I
mm.
so appreciate the depth that you move through, that it's like there's this kind of real surrender to the currents of sound and how it kind of can reshape our outer expression.
Stephen, it is such an exciting time, isn't it? For sound and sound as medicine, sound in all its forms, of healing. And it's very much thanks to the Shift Network that, all these different dimensions of sound healing are really coming through. And so for myself, that's what I'm really excited to do now, is to explore how the medicine and the mystical nature of sound and sound as a metaphor for living, how
Mm,
those three dimensions of consciousness, which if you like are everyday life, the science of who we are, and and the medicine, the healing potential for sound with who we are,
mm.
to come to just collapse those dimensions. And there's something about what we're going to explore today that I think is going to open the door on that one.
Indeed. I know these are, it's also very ancient traditions. I wonder if we were talking a little before we started about nada yoga, and maybe you share a little bit about some of these ancient roots that are fueling this kind of new renaissance of understanding of sound healing.
Yes, you. Well, I feel incredibly blessed all the way. My whole life has been, one endless inquiry about what's going on, And obviously, I was extremely blessed having had a really privileged music education, ending up at Cambridge, and then, but still realizing that choral music on a five-line stave was so exquisite and so uplifting, but I just wasn't getting grounded. And so, I just had to go off to explore indigenous cultures. I was lucky enough to work with the Blackfeet, with the Pigani up in northern Montana. I was able to work with the most in Africa, which was very, very powerful over in Eastern Africa, working there with sound as a way of life. It's still, singing would be happening everywhere all the time, that choral field, but very grounded, very, very grounded. So, in other words, sound, choral sound, not as performance, but as an everyday reality. And so it wasn't, and then of course, arriving in India and that ancient culture right there really just consumed my entire attention for quite some years. And it was really the relationship with the non-dual teaching of oneness, the breath, and the journey of divine love. And those three dimensions, suddenly they were all happening in my body at the same time. And that came about through a practice, because at one level I was thinking, oh, I'd be really interested to, learn Indian raga, to learn the Indian way of vocalizing and voice as a spiritual practice. And at the same time, I was, very blessed to be sitting with non-dual teachers there, who were literally bringing me into the same place of oneness. So this sound we were just listening to, Nada Yoga, is absolutely right at the core of the attention that is required of a human being to come home to oneself, in ways that are older and deeper than the polarity of all conflict. That's what I
Mm,
love to say.
I
And
love
that
that.
that for us is sound wisdom. And that's what I've been brought to, if you like, by the grace of God, with all these incredible influences, and being back in England now, and finding that one of the great masters of the Sarod lives just down the road from where I live. which is extraordinary. And so this is a man who I actually organized a concert for 38 years ago in Bristol, and he's played with Iyengar and Yehudi Menuhin and Ravi Shankar. You know, he was with Ramana Maharshi when he was 5 years old. He refers to his mother as his guru. You know, how many Western people would find themselves doing that? You know, he showed me this beautiful picture of his mother singing with the tambura, which is the sound I was just playing. And they would chant mantras every day before they went to school for a couple of hours. You know, imagine if we were to do that, what a different world we'd be living in.
Mhm.
So the Nada Yoga, he and I have joined forces because it's as if he's an absolute gift. You know how these synchronicities happen in your life? And all the different components of my past narrative have somehow distilled themselves into this one singular relationship with this extraordinary master of sound. And for him, the most natural thing to do, and this is the piece that I think as Westerners very often we've forgotten, is to sound the one sound, the sa is called the ground of the Indian scale, the ground of what we call the octave of consciousness, for 3 hours a day. So he recently just told me that many of his students, when he asks them if they're willing to do that, that they run away. So isn't that interesting? You know, that this for me, I think, is the one singular missing piece of, or has been for Westerners, of vocal practice. That we've been conditioned very often in the West to experience sound as a performative activity or as an entertainment activity or an activity that basically separates one singular godforsaken individual from an audience.
Mm.
Then they are required to entertain, to impress, you know. Now, of course, what happens in India, what happens in all indigenous ancient cultures, and I'm sure you've been experiencing this hugely in Peru, of course, is this attention, the attention that is required to hear ourselves in a way that we've never heard ourselves before, to hear ourselves beyond the narrative. So we have to address the narrative. And the narrative gives us a lot of music, you know, hence the question, how do you feel? How does that sound? But then that would just be psychodrama, or it might be, you know, it would be a level of psychotherapy if you miss out the final question, which is what quality of silence? Yoga, which now as a Westerner, I'm learning at a whole new level to integrate within my own life, within this crazy, wild, insane, political and socio-economic and ecological crisis that we're in.
Mm.
So it's absolutely brilliant.
But
It's
there's
imperative.
so many
Yeah,
beautiful threads in what you're sharing, and I want to sort of explore a little deeper into this notion that it's like these sounds and our voice can carry us into kind of a prior non-dual unitive kind of pre-dissonant kind of state. And a little bit about, so I like that you're saying around the saw as sort of the really establishing that bass note, the sort of the foundation, if you will. And so maybe take us a little bit into those kind of like core seven sacred sounds and how, when we really relate to those, is sort of like the source syllables of the universe, if you will, that kind of reorients us to our higher spiritual nature.
that's a thank you so much, Stephen. That's beautiful. So a little bit of background to this Seven Sounds of Love. This work, if you like, is the result of, is the distillation of 3 research programs that have taken place, experiential research that have taken place in my life in collaboration with a Zen martial artist and a shamanic shepherd who happens to be a brilliant poet and artist as well. And the 3 of us came together much earlier in our lives, and we were absolutely fascinated by each other's practices. And we brought them together into what became the 7 Sounds of Love. And so in this practice, what you have the opportunity to experience is how to embody your voice without any criticism of it ever again. And so let's just listen into this. So, for example, I'm just going to bring back my tambura sound, if I may, and that will just give us just some ground. Because the first thing is to really find our center of gravity. Can you hear that okay?
Yes.
Great. So first of all, I just want to share with you 3 mantras, which are the, if you like, they're like the overriding wisdom keepers of this practice. And the first mantra is simply Sat, S-A-T. And Sat is Sanskrit for being. And so our attention primarily to begin with in this practice is with the understanding I am the source of existence, Sat. And that really requires our embodiment of the first 3 chakras. So that, if you like, is establishing right there in the first 3 locations of consciousness, the first three chakras. We're building there the personal will. We're building a very healthy relationship with the personal ego, with our capacity for self-love and for love of our tribe, of our people, of our community. So this is very, very important. And we're moving here through these 3 locations of consciousness, through Sa, which is the first note. Let's just sound that together, just breathing in and bringing your awareness to the root chakra. Just very simply, Sa. And that's what, if you're lucky enough, you can get to practice for 3 hours. I'm not suggesting we're going to do that in this workshop, but it is the most brilliant practice. And you are so grounded by the end of that. Even 15 minutes is just incredible. You just start perceiving your old limitations in a whole other way, and they sort of somehow magically lift off. So that Sa then connects, that's, if you like, is the source of love. So I'm giving you a distillation, the final map that my 2 collaborators, the 3 of us, have constellated to create this singular practice. Sa, so we call that the source of love. Moving into Re, yes. And just feeling Sade. And moving your awareness from the Sa to the Re and back down to the Sa again. Sade. Sa. So you can hear how the sound is microtonally connecting. There's no separation between one note and the next. How is that?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So we call, if you like, we can refer to this as, you know, the second, the pelvic chakra is the realm of co-creative love, of sexual love, and it's the beginning of relationship with oneself, primarily, number one. Sade Resa. So it's like you're opening into the field of duality, into relationship with yourself. So it's like falling in love without any outer object of love. And that then rises up into the third chakra, the solar plexus. And that brings us into the realm of what's called Ga. I love that sound, that mantra. Ga is the sound of the solar plexus. And what that's doing is activating the sun in the belly, right? And we have a lot of practices, some wonderful energy movement practices to really activate that. And so what we're strengthening here is the whole understanding, my will matters. My personal will matters. Yeah. So we practice Sade Ga. And this third one, I love to call intentional love. Yes, it's like I will love not only myself, but I will love this situation, you know, that I'm in, wherever it is right now. You know, what a privilege to be, whatever the dilemmas are that are going on in your life, to actually get that it's food for your own singing soul. So whatever the emotions are that you're experiencing, those are all, and we'll come to that in a minute, food. They're like melodic food, you know. So one day you might be Sade Ga. You know, it might be that Ga is like a little bit kind of low level. It's feeling a bit depressed, right? And so the sound inevitably will fall. The body knows how to do that. How does it know to do that? It just knows. You know, and if you ask somebody, how do you feel? And they say, oh, I'm feeling really depressed. They'll go, I'll go, how does that sound? Oh, 9 times out of 10. Beautiful. You know, we've kind of stigmatized that as depression. We've turned it into mental health. You know, rather than getting, this is music. Gadi Gasa. You know, oh my God, here I am again, you know. Now I'm laughing because it's so fun just to share this with you. But at the same time, laughter comes from here too. And so in our work, there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of laughter. Whether you're feeling it or not, it's a very fierce practice that we develop laughter. You know, because you start to laugh at yourself when you realize you're not actually depressed. You're actually just longing for something you cannot name. And we've really underplayed longing in our culture. You know, you hear that in the Sufi, you hear it in the mystical schools, you know, and that brings us into the heart center. That longing is informed by the heart center, empathic love, intuitive love. So we're moving from intentional, instinctual love up into and feeding that power, the power of my will, with the heart center. And if you just let your hands come up like that, we've got lots of lovely energy movements. And just to bring your right hand around your left thumb, okay, and then just bring that down to the root. That's Sa. Ah. And energy movement wise, this is called standing or sitting in emptiness. Just home again with oneself. Sa. And when you open the arms from there, that mudra is called the sword inside the sheath. And when you open that up into the Ma, just come up through the center of the body and open that into the Ma. Can you feel how you feel? Can you feel the difference in the music of your listening? Ma. Can you hear there's that longing, it's offering, it's kind, it's giving. And this mudra itself is called offering flowers. So again, this is another place to practice the interval of Ma from Sa. Sa, Re, Ga, Ma. And we practice this sometimes just outside, rather like, I think, Asian people love to practice in parks and stuff like that. We've started doing that. It's a really lovely thing to do, not obviously as performance, but just simply to connect more closely with nature, but also just to feel the world around you as you do this. So to feel your voice within the world. Not as a performance, but as energy, So this energy then opens into Pa. And this we call all-inclusive love. In a minute, I'll just stand up and just take you through these. And that all-inclusive love, Pa, brings us into Ta, which is the pineal. And this one is very, very powerful. This is compassionate love. And this compassionate love, the practice here is to keep the eyes open. You now have a sword in your hand. And if you literally had a sword in your hand, you would be looking from not the left eye or the third eye, the right eye, but the third eye. So you've got there a triangle of awareness between the left consciousness, the left brain, the right brain, and the third eye, the cosmic brain, the luminous third eye, pineal. And this is another place to stay. This is called compassionate love. And this mudra is a very, very stabilizing place, particularly when you're just exploring your relationship with service. I serve. That brings you on up into the seventh, and that is the completion of the 7 sounds of love. So we have these energy movements, which if you like, we could just go through so you can see the whole thing. Would that be a good idea?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. So I'm going to stand away from the screen a little bit. So this is a whistle-stop tour for you through the 7 sounds of love. So the right hand around the left thumb, Sword of love, source of love. Sa, opening into co-creative sexual love. Sari, moving into instinctual love. Ga, moving on up into devotional love. Ma, moving into all-inclusive love. Pa, moving into compassionate love. Ta, up into mystical love. Ni, and opening finally into universal love. Sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, re, sa. So each of these dimensions of love can be explored through song in all its forms. And what is possible here is the mudras, if you like, they help us to really embody our emotions, to really embody the emotions, but also to take our emotions to explore how we can travel deeper, how the emotions themselves can be a catalyst for deeper states of human feeling. So, as I say, the example of depression is actually discovering it to be longing as opposed to, some kind of negative state.
Yeah, part of what I'm hearing in just this whole practice with you is that it's like the love of our voice is the return to our fullness. And so it's this accessing all the different levels and things that we think of as positive, things that we sometimes might resist, like longing or depression or sort of missing, are actually part of that full expression. And so we have to reclaim all of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So to actually look back over one's own, biological narrative, we have a whole practice where you literally can just unravel the whole narrative as a journey with your voice through your whole life. And we call that the vocal self-portrait, where you're literally, you're exploring and journeying through your life as seen and experienced through the voice. And it is quite extraordinary.
And so part of what happens is that over the course of our life, we're constricting parts of ourselves or shielding. And so we have to unravel that to really re-experience the fullness of love, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so things like, very often anger, some people say I'm feeling really angry, Now, if you just leave that in the narrative, it's really very, it's just very dispersing for the individual. But if you actually take the sound of anger, which very often is a lot of notes compressed together, sa re ga ma pa, my God, it's sa re ga ma pa, it's very, once you start really hearing it, it's fantastic. It has this kind of homeopathic complement, which is the antidote of which, is real passion,
Hmm.
incredible passion.
So instead of kind of suppressing the anger or pushing out to the side, you're sort of learning to inhabit it through the sound, it sounds like.
Exactly, and take ownership of it.
Take
Yeah,
ownership of it.
you know. So what can be like 25 years of therapy trying to sort of forgive your mother or something is actually, you can actually explore literally within minutes now. And I think that's what's so exciting about what's happening in the world, is that given the craziness of what's going on, people are waking up so fast to the imperative of their voice, to get really, to learn how to use the voice consciously and compassionately and co-creatively. It's very important, all these dimensions of love.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, truly fascinating. Can you give a bit more into how to sort of transmute traumatic experiences that have lodged in your body? So there's the anger. So some of it is a reclamation of the full expression of emotions sonically, but then
Yeah,
how to kind of work with sort of unresolved traumas that might have got kind of glommed onto our voice or full expression.
yeah. Well, there's got to be the call. There's got to be the call for it. There's got to be the wish. Once you know that you have to, that this life has been given to you in this way, and that you feel this imperative to transform it, to work with it, to discover who I really am, what is my true purpose here. You then are in a position, as I've been, for example, with, prisoners guys in prison who literally are locked in this institution where they are being made to feel really bad. But they're there, right? And so they are, if you like, experiencing this kind of trap that they've been placed in. Just simply one, as I said to some of them the other day, one unconscious move, and it could have been me here, not you, you know. And they were quite sort of taken aback by that. And then they said to me, well, yeah, here we are. We've got to deal with this. We've got to really, really deal with this. And I think once you're really attentive to the sounds that the body knows, that itself becomes the healing. It becomes the healing. It's not like something you've got to mentally work out, because you are already entering a deeper state of consciousness, which is the soul itself. So you've moved, if you like, from the left brain into the right brain. You're calling forth the gifts of the right brain. And then there is just a little matter of grace which intervenes, which is the whole brain, the whole light bulb of the brain when it goes on. When you start hearing the trauma, the sound, what does that actually sound like? It is so terrifying. I think it's particularly terrifying because we've been required to navigate it mentally. We've been required to talk about it, and we've been told it was terrible. It may indeed have been truly terrible, and yet this is something I learned with Bert Hellinger again, the founder of the in the Order of Love Constellations work. That he said sometimes, and I really have experienced this with thousands of people, that the most radical abuse that you may have experienced is exactly the gateway you needed for this lifetime to wake up. And that, I mean, I have witnessed that many times, and I sense there's a chance, given that humanity is waking up, to taking much more collective responsibility for what we've created over the last, hundreds of thousands of years, there's a chance that we are now accessing this soul voice, this voice. This is older than, deeper than the polarity of all conflict, much more efficiently and much more quickly by simply, how do I feel? How does that sound? What quality of silence does it leave behind?
Beautiful. You're weaving so many threads together in a really fascinating way, Chloe. And I want to spend some time now talking about how people can go further, since I really feel like you're dealing with the root systems and consciousness and our body and in our culture, really, of like how do we metabolize the old patterns and open to a kind of harmonic new pattern that's really ancient as well. So let's talk about your upcoming course, which is a really beautiful opportunity to dive deep into this work. So Chloe's agreed to teach this brand new program. It's called The Art of Loving Your Voice, a mystical journey into the medicine of your soul sound. And it's very much builds on what we've shared here today. It's like sound is a portal into the depths of your being. And out of that emerges a natural flowing love of your voice and yourself. So it's at the URL, lovingyourvoice.com, lovingyourvoice.com. It's a 7-week program and there are no prerequisites. And so, Chloe, I'd love for you to share a little bit about some of your intentions for this program, and then we can go through the modules and give a preview of what's coming in each.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, it is. I'm very excited about this because when all is said and done, our relationship with our capacity to love ourselves and to love one another is more imperative, I think, than it's ever been. And to be able to do that without having to spend years and years, talking about it, but actually directly experiencing it and alchemizing it, and exploring a very, direct way of taking responsibility for one's emotions and then turning them into a creative act. So that for me is really what this is about, is really exploring how the witnessing mind, and how the witnessing mind can really help us to gain a whole new access to the music of the soul that essentially that we're made of. The body itself is like I call it the house of song. It is an extraordinary vessel that we have been given to really discover and to wake up to the full spectrum of our consciousness. Yeah.
Beautifully shared. Module 1 is called Receive Your Original Sound, Root Chakra Sa, I Am.
Yeah, that is literally, we're focusing solely on that experience of the one sound, of connecting to source, and finding the energetic movements that assist us in that process.
Module 2, Remember the Alchemy of Love, Sacral Chakra, Ray, I Open.
That's absolutely lovely. And these statements that accompany each module, I am for the first module 1, Sa, and I open for Ray. These are very important, they're like affirmations. And the whole journey, yes, we are really reinforcing intention all the way through. So there will never be an opportunity again for you to say, I have not got a voice. This voice is yours. It's your birthright. It's unique. We know, we've listened to John Stuart Reid. We know it's totally unique that your DNA sound is. And why not absolutely find it today and embody it and share it and transmit it to others? And we're learning here about a whole new relationship with the pelvis, and with pelvic the love within the pelvis. And that, if you like, is opening us into not only sexual love, but a whole new relationship with ourselves and with duality, with duality, with that sense of being separate, and enjoying the separateness, but also feeling that separateness from the source of oneness. So
Module 3, reclaim the fire of love. Intentional power chakra, Ga, I will.
we have some fabulous energy movements within this module. Intentional love, instinctual love. I think, everybody's in for a great treat there. A lot of very energizing energy movement, and also a consolidation, confirmation, and a very positive affirmation of the ego, of the personality, and of its purpose as we move on into the next stage of love.
Module 4, rejuvenate intuitive love. Heart chakra, Ma, I love.
Yes, you do, and so do I. So it's very much, it's the fourth interval, and it's fabulous how these mudras really open up the voice without any effort whatsoever. It's like, why did we ever, why were we ever forced to sit behind desks as I was, and to sort of learn music by rote in a very sort of mental way? This is totally embodying your voice and opening the heart, opening your awareness to the potential of your own intuition, which is vital.
Module 5, reveal the inclusive voice of love. Throat chakra, Pa, I share.
I share. Well, that is, the mudra where you're literally opening your arms out. This mudra is called brightening the whole world. And it's very interesting that Masashi Minagawa, who I mentioned right at the beginning, who introduced us to these incredible energy movements, he said that when he first introduced this mudra to, I think it was 100 martial artists in Italy, he said they were very shocked because this mudra is very opening, very revealing, and it is the cross, of course. It's the cross. And so it's our opportunity to really reconcile and resolve the vertical axis, our relationship with the cosmos, and our relationship within the social field.
Module 6, resonate in the luminosity of love. Third eye chakra, Da, I see beyond.
That's so beautiful. I just love the way you said that, Stephen. I see beyond is absolutely central to this work, if you like. In many ways, we should really start here. Maybe that'll be another course. This, the witnessing mind, this is absolutely crucial in our work. But sometimes, starting from the root, obviously, and working right up to it, by the time we get here, we have integrated instinctual love, and we've integrated it with intuitive love, and we're now moving into, if you like, the realm of insightful love. So that's compassionate love, and hence the mudra of the sword of love, sword of compassionate love.
And finally, module 7, I reawaken the mystical power of love. Crown chakra, Ni, I surrender.
It's just so fascinating hearing it like this with you. I'm really enjoying it. The sound of Ni it's a totally different frequency, as you can hear. And it really does. This movement, the mudra, is called pointing towards heaven. And you're literally one breath away from God, if you like. So that final mudra into the crown chakra, Sa, again, is the whole cycle starts again. So you've got this octave of consciousness from Ni, mystical love, which opens our connection, our capacity to receive universal love. And that's a big deal, and this, to actually really allow yourself to feel that, and to feel that from all the other different locations of love, all the way through the body, is an act of grace, and we talk a lot, and my master in India spoke a lot about the whole journey is one of grace and gradual revelation. So it requires this immense intention of the lower levels of love through within the lower chakras to really receive the grace of universal love. And at the same time, it's easy because the whole thing is an act of receiving. So we're not like finding your voice, or so it's like making sound or getting it right, or singing in tune. That's the absolute killer for most people. That many people have been told they weren't singing in tune. So this whole journey is a journey of grace and gradual revelation. And all I can tell you is it's really all I've been exploring and researching for 40 years. And so it's an incredible privilege just to share this.
Well, what a beautiful offering. It's so wonderful that we can harvest some of the most important insights and practices from your 40 years of exploration. So again, the whole program is laid out in detail at lovingyourvoice.com. So in addition to the 7 90-minute live modules, which are going to be a great time to ask your questions of Chloë as well, you also get recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts. There's weekly exercises and practices for home. There are Facebook community group that really helps you to connect around the world, as well as small group time to connect with other participants as well. And on the page, you'll see there's a number of extra bonuses that Chloë has been gracious to offer into this program. There's a body awareness vertical practices audio. You want to share a little bit about that bonus, Chloë?
So that is going to be really supporting and empowering you to really embody the practices that we'll be sharing in the modules. And those are the vertical practices. So we have two sets of practices. We have horizontal ones and vertical ones. And that's to get you really launched.
That's just one bonus. And then there's the second bonus. There's actually 5 bonuses in one. It's 5 audios from Chloë on illuminations, 5 short devotional songs and chants.
These are practices, very simple practices that you can just enjoy. They're 5-minute meditations. And so, there is a place I know, only I can go, and no one else can go there for me. Yes, no one else can go there. Very, very, very simple melodies that, that just, they're like modern day mantras, and they're like, or prayer songs.
Love it.
And you can just, they can start your day and just get you into that singing frame of mind before you go to work.
Hmm. And you always create just such a playful exploratory spirit with these offerings too. I love it. Just freezes up. It's kind of dancing with your voice and sound. So that's another bonus. And then there's one final bonus you get if you sign up by midnight tonight Pacific time. This is an audio from Chloë called Heart of Wisdom, 3 mantras of the heart. Chloë, you want to share about that special bonus folks get if they sign up today?
Well, all I can say is if I was to die tomorrow, which I won't, but supposing I was, I'd be very happy I'd made that album, because the Heart Sutra is, if you like, was the great impulse for this work. I had a dream about the Heart Sutra, which is this ancient mantra, a wisdom mantra. But these 3 recordings are extended versions of 3 different versions of the same mantra. And they are literally, they're very, very powerful portals for sacred awareness.
Mm.
Yeah. The meaning being go far beyond the wisdom is. Very, very powerful.
Well, it's a great extra reason to sign up today by midnight. So clearly this is going to be a deep and beautiful and loving and powerful exploration, and you are in really good hands, and we've kept the investment very accessible for this. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start July 23rd and run Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and that time works well for England and Europe as well. And so even if you can't make those live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. There's some great testimonials from the many people, luminaries and students who have been blessed by Chloe's work. So you know that you're in really good hands, and you will really open to some new domains of yourself in this process, and in a playful, loving, and expansive way. And it's like coming home through sound. And so you will find more detail again at lovingyourvoice.com, and you will get that special bonus if you sign up by midnight tonight, which is Heart of Wisdom, 3 Mantras of the Heart. So, Chloe, we're nearing the end of our time. Anything still on your heart that you want to share with folks who are considering joining you for the course?
Well, I have just one little poem, if I may share, which really for me encapsulates what we've spoken about. This is a poem called Listen. If you listen not to the pages or the preachers, but to the smallest flower growing from a crack in your heart, you will hear a great song moving across a wide ocean whose water is the music connecting all the islands of this universe. Touching all, and you will feel it touching you, around you, inside you, embracing you with light. It is in this light that everything lives and will always be alive.
Gorgeous. Well, thank you for the nectar today, Chloe, and thank you just for your just depth of warmth and beauty of your presence and your voice, and your invitation really to come home to ourselves through our voice and sound. So beautiful work, and thank you all for joining. If you'd like to go further into Chloe's course, you can do so at lovingyourvoice.com, and you'll get that special bonus when you sign up by midnight, which is the Heart of Wisdom, 3 Mantras of the Heart. Many blessings.
Looking forward. Thank you.